shalakaya chakshu unmilitam jena tasmaya shri guruve namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Taravaktaya Namo Namaha. Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmari Tarangamadye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Paradram Tato Mamanastikatyan Kapi. I first of all offer millions and millions of Dharma pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om, Astol Tarazadashishi Mad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nityalila Pravishta Om, Astol Tarazadashishi Mad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. So continuing our Jaiva Dharma, and we'll offer pranams to Jaiva Dharma by chanting some verses from the Falshruti. So,
First.
Which one?
First.
One, okay. Oh yes, get the books out. Bring them all out, you might need some more. Achyuta may come. Starting from verse 1 today. Prithivite kata dharma name chale, bhagavata kahe sabha paripurna chale.
As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second shloka, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive.
So this second verse, dharma projita kaitavatra parama niramatsharanam shatam. Matsara means envy. Nir matsara means there's no envy in this Bhagavatam. It's interesting how the quality of envy is associated, like we are envious of Krishna, that's why we're not with Krishna. This is when Krishna showed his face, Vimukh, and we turned away from him, coming from the Brahmajyoti. We turned away out of envy because Krishna was so much greater than we are. And I couldn't handle that. So I actually came here. But this envy is a constant obstruction all the time. So in this 112, specifically it's saying that Srimad Bhagavatam has no envy. And this Jaiva Dharma, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is saying the same. There's no enviousness. Enviousness is the antithesis, the opposite of prem. Prem is on one side and envy is on the other. It's two like this. If you're not focused on humility and prem, you're focused on pride and envy. This is the opposite side of the coin. So we should appreciate that, because most people are bewildered by the material energy and they're conditioned. They have to be proud. If they're not proud, they will just fall on their faces and commit suicide. So they become proud of their material body.
Maharaj, it said that any jiva who sees Bhagavan, he gets attracted. Then how does we have Matsarya to him?
Say again?
It is said that any jiva who has the darshan of Bhagavan.
Yes.
Well,
we haven't had the darshan of Bhagavan.
You just said we
Vimukh, we turned away from an atmosphere of Bhagavan. We didn't see his face ever. If we'd seen his face, we could not go away. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I must have not said it correctly. It's like when we come out of the Tatashta, there's an atmosphere. Perhaps there's some Vedic mantras. There's a mood of purity on one side. This is what we've turned away from. But it's described in Jaiva Dharma as Vimukh, turning away from Krishna's face. We don't actually see Krishna's face, but we turn away from the purity of Krishna's world, Krishna's kingdom. We've turned away from that. Krishna was there, but we didn't. If we'd seen Krishna, we could not leave. Not possible to leave. That's why it's so absurd that they say the jiva falls, it is not possible to fall into this material world, because the nature of the relationship immediately with Krishna is so you can't, something that is so beautiful, you can't go away. Not possible. So we've never seen Krishna yet. But there was an atmosphere and an idea of the Supreme Person was there. It wasn't full. Understand? Fully. Completely.
Yes.
What do you understand?
That we have not had the direct darshan of Bhagavan.
Correct.
We have got a glimpse of his, it is said even his Brahma Jyoti is like him.
Yes.
So it
Very
is
good.
full of spiritual varietedness.
Yes. Yes.
So
Very good.
You would have experienced that, but
Yes.
we are envious of that.
Yes. 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 Why? Because it makes me feel that I have to be small, and I don't like to be small. I want to be big. You know, I want to be like God, but I'm not God. But if I love God, I'll become the same as God. That's all. If you love God sufficiently, you'll have the same potency as the Lord. Just like in the cowherd boys. They don't think Krishna was special by defeating Kamsa. They all thought they could defeat Kamsa, no problem. Right? They don't think Krishna's so great. Otherwise they couldn't have the sweetest relationship with him. If you hold to Aishwarya for somebody, it's restrictive. If you keep thinking all the time, this person is great, this person is great, then what sort of relationship can you actually have with that person? It's all very Aishwarya. But to find intimacy, then, but it's different with the spiritual master. We should always find the spiritual master great and always feel very restricted and like a fool in his company. And if we transgress that Aishwarya, we can make offenses. So that Aishwarya, because that's building. But my Gurudev used to say, with his spiritual master, sometimes when the mood was correct, he would just jump on the same bed with his Gurudev and they would discuss Krishna's topics like, oh, one like this. Not any sort of restriction with the Aishwarya. But that's very rare. That means that my Gurudev really, really loved his Guru, and his Gurudev, Param Gurudev, really reciprocated with him because he could see how much he loves me. You see? Love is the breaking of all boundaries. Love. Not ba 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 ba. This is not ever going to be successful. All you do is make people angry and disturbed. But if you can love them, smart, clever, if you want to change something, give them some sweets, speak nicely to them, make them love you, make them even respect you, and then tell them what you want to tell them. But if you just try and boom in your face, who's impressed? You won't be successful. Chale dharma chadikara satya dharma mati chaturvagya tyaji dara nitya prema gati.
One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and observe his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life, dharma, arth, kam, moksha, and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of nitya prema.
Can we do that? It's amazing how much we hear about this, but then we can't do it. There's some restriction there. Because our love for Krishna has not risen sufficiently. Our attraction to Krishna is still a little down. Therefore, we still have some attraction to the body and this world. When all attraction to this world has not been negated, it's actually been replaced. Because if you just like a yogi, they just focus on negative. But that doesn't soften the heart. If you just take that away, you have to come to the place of Vrindavan Dham. You have to be in Goradam, Goralila. You have to embrace the sweetness, and then automatically the lower side will go. Just a minute. Amitva mimamsa brahme nicha jaga buddhi nirvishesha brahma jnana nahi chitta suddhi.
Those who are deluded and identify themselves with matter, that is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for Nirvishesh Brahma Jnana.
So one who is so much deluded, identify themselves with matter. This is like Nishag again, like the iceberg. It's that analogy is the iceberg is in illusion about its real swadam, its liquidity. But it's very hard to actually come from that consciousness of being illusioned into the reality. It's a huge jump of consciousness. Sometimes in today's world, there's many truths that are being revealed as the reality, and we were taught the wrong thing for many years. But the biggest deception we have had to experience from birth is that I'm the body. This is the biggest deception. Everywhere around, people are saying and relating to my body, my false ego. And I am thinking very definitely that I am this body. So this is the biggest conspiracy, that I'm thinking that I'm the body. So if we speak on this platform, we can achieve the most to purify that misconception of being the body. Because all these different material misconceptions that are being revealed are very, very, very tiny. It doesn't really matter in one sense. What matters is the misconception of thinking that I'm the body. This is the main misconception. And simultaneously, when I think I'm not the body, I think that I'm a servant of Krishna. Jivara Sarupa Krishna. I think I am spirit. You can't think I'm not the body by itself. You just become a Brahmavad. Nirvishesh. But if you think you are a servant of Krishna, then at this point, the misconception of being the body will be purified. Understand? This is the main thing. So everything we do in life is aimed for that. Success in that area. Not pampering the body excessively, etc., etc. Ivi chitra hina hale nirvishesha hoy kala samutulya seya aprakatanoi.
The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental. Thus he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichittata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities and Leela. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm.
Again, it's envy. If you don't appreciate the transcendental nature of the Lord, you don't appreciate his achintya nature, his adhoxaja. He's inconceivable. So if we don't appreciate this, then we're going to be envious. And then we can't go that way. We don't want to come back to the material world. Where will you go? Nirvishesh Brahm. That's all that's left. You understand? There is nothing else left. If you're not going to go to Krishna, and you're not going to be a kami, then you have to go into the Brahman. No more choice. It's an amazing situation that Krishna has put us in. We have to always remember one thing, that I have to be responsible for where I go. If we don't remember, I have to understand that I'm responsible for being here. It was my decision. I have independence. If I didn't have independence, I wouldn't be satisfied. So I had independence, I have independence, and I've chosen to come here. And when I recognize my own independence, then I have the choice of how to get out of here. If you don't think it's your own fault for your suffering, you can never stop the suffering. So we have to take full responsibility for our situation. Full responsibility. Last one. Kanda gyan hoye dharma ache sunishchaya prakritita hoyle kabu aprakatanaya.
Such base and contemptible jnana, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is
Dismember by not appreciating his transcendence.
Rupa.
You cut him. You try to bring him down to your Mayic level.
Form of Bhagavan is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakrita dharma.
So all of these verses that we read through this Falshruti are encapsulating the essence of this Jaiva Dharma in a very, very sublime way. That's why we read it all the time, because it's very, very potent. Okay, so now, looking at chapter 16. So we're talking about Kanishtas, Madhyam, oh yes, Nityananda, he's asking very lovingly, how can the Kanishtas be turned around and progress? This is a very nice, sensitive inquiry. So, I think we're up to the top of page 185, correct?
No, this one, why, when does that happen? We stopped.
Okay, so almost down the bottom of 184. I'll just read the question and answer before that, just to pick it up. Nityananda Das, why is it that many Kanishta Bhaktas do not progress? Babaji, if the Kanishta Bhaktas associates mainly with people who are inimical, his immature level of eligibility for bhakti quickly fades, and his eligibility for karma and gyan become prominent. In some cases, eligibility neither increases nor decreases, but remains exactly the same. In other words, he's not moving forward and he's not going back. This is a very dangerous condition. My Gurudev used to describe it as neutral. It's like a neutral zone. You're not really having the inspiration to move forward, but you're having sufficient understanding not to go back. So you're just comfortably, in a way, sitting in a neutral place. My Gurudev used to describe this as a very dangerous place to sit, because you can't stay there very long. It's like sitting on the fence. Sooner or later you have to come down one side or the other, hopefully on the other side, towards Krishna. Nityananda Das, when does that happen? Babaji, when he associates equally with bhaktas and inimical people. So that's how that indecisive nature can come. When he's sometimes running around with materialistic people, and he's sometimes with devotees. So his mind becomes bewildered. Who should I be with? Well, don't remember, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was writing this, there weren't mutts. There weren't places where devotees all lived together. All the devotees were living separately, and they would meet regularly together. They wouldn't all live in a sort of controlled environment, or like a mutt situation like that. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't advocate mutts. He told Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati not to make mutts, because he knew that institutional mentality would take away bhakti ultimately. It's described that bhakti can't survive in an institutional environment. In an institution, you have to have control. There has to be control. Otherwise, it's not an institution. Especially if it gets to be a very big institution, you have to have so much control. Therefore, someone whose bhakti starts to blossom, they get wings to fly, but they can't. They have to be cut by the controllers. So he described that bhakti cannot flourish in an institutional environment. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not supportive of mutts, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was so much more compassionate that he made the mutts, because he could see that it would be like a last place for many devotees to take shelter. If they didn't have the mat, they wouldn't have anywhere to take shelter. So it seems like he went against his father, but he didn't, because he understood what his father's higher intention was, is to help the conditioned souls. Just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's Guru Maharaj, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji, told him not to go to the city of Kali, Kolkata. And what did Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati do? He went straight to Kolkata, because he understood the heart of his guru wanted to liberate the conditioned souls. But he didn't go to Calcutta for any other purpose other than to help the conditioned souls. He didn't have any other desire other than that. So it wasn't that he was really contradicting his guru, and he didn't really contradict his father either. He did for a higher purpose. So not so easy to reconcile. We have to consider the sensitivity of these things. Everything we have to be smart with. We have to think, what are the instructions of... The instructions aren't always straight. You can say, I have instructions to go and do this, but actually, my Gurudev might have said this and this and this, but each time it has to be reconciled by other Vaishnavas also. We have to pray for the Kripa to understand these topics. Not so simple. Under what circumstances can his advancement be assured? Babaji, when his association with bhaktas becomes prominent and his association with the inimical becomes minimal, his advancement is rapid. In other words, just cutting the association of all materialists. So for some, maybe for us, we're living here in the Holy Dham, that's not the case. But there are many people living in the world and they have to associate. Perhaps they go to work. Devotees are kind-hearted people. They make friends with all kinds of different people. But they can be very infectious, those people. Because if they're not thinking that you're not the body, the first lesson, then they're going to make you feel that you're the body. Like I described to you yesterday, my friend working in Delhi, his friends are saying, well, haven't you got a car? Don't you have a nice house of your own? All these things are coming to them. That's what inimical people will try to pressure onto you. Nityananda Das, what is the nature of the Kanishta Adhikari's inclination towards sinful and pious activities? He really wants to know about the Kanishta. Why? Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is understanding that perhaps people are on the Madhyam, but they're always thinking that they're Kanishtas. They're not thinking that they are Madhyam or Uttam. They are having the humble conception that I'm not even a devotee. Somebody once asked this to Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, they say, why is Bhaktivinoda Thakur in so many places in his books saying that he is so fallen and destitute and he has no vision of the real spiritual world? And Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj gave a beautiful example. He said that when a man comes to the shore of the material ocean, he sees the immensity of the power in the ocean, and naturally he feels humbled by that potency, that power you see in the ocean. What to speak of that personality who comes to the shore of the spiritual ocean? Then he feels completely bereft of nothing. He feels he has nothing. Just like my Gurudev. I read you something. I wanted to read something to you today. I'll do it now. This is a question. It's connected with what we're talking about. But it's a question by my Gurudev. Somebody asked him, let me read this and understand the connection. So the question was, how can a disciple tell if his sambandha with his Gurudev is growing? How can you tell if your relationship is actually growing? And he answers very beautifully. He says, if a person is dying, or if there is any trouble, if he is always thinking how to serve his Guru, in any circumstance, he's always thinking that, regardless of the situation, always thinking of him his sambandha is strong. Always knowing that his guru is arranging for everything that's happening in his life. His guru is non-different to Krishna. Sakshata Vitre na samasta shastre. We sing every single morning in the Guru Vastakam prayer. Guru and Krishna are like same for the Shishya. Then he goes on. He feels indebted. He realizes that his guru has given him a seed of a big, big tree. The disciple feels he can never repay his guru for many, many births. He has that complete feeling of indebtedness. Just like me, my Gurudev was saying. I am always trying to serve my guru, but I am never satisfied. This is the point I wanted to make about this. So we're always thinking that, yes, I am Kanishna. So Nityananda, he's asking these questions. So like my Gurudev, he's never feeling satisfied that he's pleased. My Gurudev would do festivals 365 days a year. Wherever he was in the world, for the last 20 years of his life, people would always gather around and there would be a festival. There would be some kirtan, some harikatha, some prasadam, every day of his life. And yet he wasn't feeling he was doing enough to please his guru. If you have that feeling, then your greed for real spiritual connection is going to be very significant. Then he says, just like me, I am always trying to serve my guru, but I'm never feeling satisfied. If I can awaken this in anyone's heart, if I can make you sink into what I'm absorbed in, I will feel I have served my Gurudev. If one is always thinking how to serve him, his minus is increasing. My Gurudev somehow indicated that his sambandha with his Gurudev is continuing to grow. And in this mood of indebtedness, was absorbing his mind and heart day and night. You understand? Completely taken up with trying to please his guru all the time. Because his guru is indicating all these, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur is our guru at this moment. He is giving us direct instruction. If that personality, like you have those books, is absorbing your mind and heart day and night, then that is very strong. That means our sambandha is going to be strong. And if we are always desiring that we can have the fortune to help someone else sink into this nishta for guru, then, or absorbed in the highest spiritual truths, then I also will be, then guru will be satisfied. You understand all that? So Babaji is going to answer this about the Kanishta Adhikari, inclination for sinful and pious activities. Babaji, in the preliminary stage, his inclination for sinful and pious activities will be like that of the Kamis and Gyanis. But as he progresses in bhakti, these propensities will be dispelled, and his inclination to please Bhagavan will become prominent. Understand? So as this gyan and karma, he becomes separated from that. From the very beginning we said, Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavan yaschasmi tatvadaha, that only bhakti is what is going to please Krishna. Only by devotion can we achieve Krishna. So this bhakti is what has to be coached within us, moment by moment. And that under guidance is essential. If it's not under guidance, we're going to be like your brother. If he's not under guidance, what will he do? He'll be under guidance of his mind. And what does the mind want? It wants to enjoy matter, because it's illusioned. But the soul will not get any taste from that. Therefore, he'll go mad. He'll become very unhappy, because the mind, the material mind, is trying to enjoy matter, but it can't. And his spirit soul will be disturbed because he's not cultivating pure spiritual consciousness. So it's a very tragic condition. Tragic indeed. Especially if intoxication come into the equation. If intoxication come, then the imagination that I'm getting some spiritual benefit, if that imagination is there, then I've really lost everything. I've met people sometimes and they've been smoking ganja, and they've actually said, oh, I feel so much more spiritually advanced when I smoke. This is such a tragedy. You know? We're already intoxicated by the material energy. What to speak of getting doubly intoxicated on top of that? What chance do we have? And it's the greatest tragedy, because in this age we have the demigods are queuing up to take birth in this Kali Yuga. And if someone abuses that opportunity, what a tragedy. How to help them? By loving them. Somehow. Giving them Jaiva Dharma. Nityananda, dear Master, I have understood the situation of Kanishta Adhikari. Now kindly describe the primary symptoms of the Madhyam Adhikari Bhaktas. So Nityananda is really getting his mileage here. He's asking lots of good questions. Babaji, the Madhyam Bhakta has Ananya Bhakti towards Krishna. His friendship with the Bhaktas consists of 4 attitudes. He considers Bhaktas to be more dear than his very self, Atma Buddhi. He feels great possessiveness towards them, Mamata Buddhi. He considers Bhaktas as worshipable, Ijya Buddhi. And he considers them to be a place of pilgrimage, Tirtha Buddhi. Very beautiful. The Madhyam Bhakta also bestows mercy on those who are ignorant of spiritual truth, and he neglects the inimical. You can't fight against inimical people. These are the primary characteristics of the Madhyam Bhakta. Remember that. You can't influence inimical people. If you try to preach to them, they just become angry and commit offense. Very often. You should be able to smell straight away if someone is inimical, and just Hare Krishna, take a simply wonderful, sweet, take something, but don't waste time. It won't be beneficial for them or for you. It'll actually cause a great disturbance for you. If you go charging out to fight, a battle or something, and they're all completely opposed to you, how are you going to be successful? I don't think you can be successful, unless you're Mahabhagavat maybe, like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, carrying so much love in his heart. When he used to come off the plains, the devotees would say they saw like 1 billion suns. This is how they saw him. Prabhupada just turned up the energy inside him, and Krishna just let them see this effulgent personality. And immediately their hearts were sold. That is, Prabhupada would tell them anything and they would do it straight away. Go out in the cold, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. He said there are demigods. They had no idea of demigods. They had no idea anything. Wash yourself with your hand when you go to the bathroom. All these things he just gave, and they just accepted. Don't engage in illicit sex. Don't take intoxication. And immediately they did. Why? Because of the power of his love. It was the power of the love that made the change. When one develops Sambandha Gyan and practices Bhakti Sadhan, which is the means, Abhideya, one attains the goal of Prem, Prayojan. This is the methodology of the Madhyam Bhakta. It is generally observed that Madhyam Bhaktas perform Harinam, Kirtan and other such activities in the association of Bhaktas, free from any offense. They don't want Pratishta. It's not even Chaya Abbas that they are when they're chanting Shuddhanam. This is the Madhyam. So the Madhyam stage is very high, but we must aim for the Madhyam. We must not be satisfied with remaining in the Kanishta platform. We must become impatient with the Kanishta qualities that we still carry, perhaps. We must become impatient with that and not allow it to flood over our higher consciousness. Nityananda Das, what are the secondary symptoms of the Madhyam Bhakta? The secondary symptom of the Madhyam Bhakta is the way in which he lives his life. His life is completely surrendered to the will of Krishna and is favorable to bhakti. Every single activity that he performs is in Krishna's direction. Nityananda, can he still commit sins or offenses? Babaji, some tendency to commit sin or offenses may remain in the beginning stage, but gradually these will disappear. Whatever sins or offenses are still present at the beginning of the Madhyam stage are like chickpeas that are just about to be ground to a pulp. They are still seen as small lumps, but within a few moments they will be crushed and will cease to exist. Yukta Vairagya, appropriate renunciation, is the life and soul of the Madhyam Bhakta. Yukta Vairagya, not Marketa Vairagya or Falgu Vairagya. These Falgu Vairagya is false renunciation. Marketa Vairagya is you still have the desires for sinful activities like the monkeys. Marketa, like the monkeys. But Yukta Vairagya means that you use every facility. You use your phone, you use your material intelligence to push on this mission. That's Rupa Goswami. He is the person who has described as Yukta Vairagya. Everything that you have at your disposal. If you have money, you use it for Krishna. If you don't have money, it's not a problem. Either way, you use it for Krishna. Nityananda Das, does the Madhyam Bhakta have any trace of karma, gyan, or extraneous desires? Babaji, again, it's in the initial stages. A faint trace of these things may remain, but finally they are uprooted. So the Madhyam is not, so there's Madhyam Kanishta, there's Madhyam Madhyam and Madhyam Uttam. So in Madhyam Kanishta, there is still some uncertainty there. There is still some taint or fault is there. But gradually, a Madhyam means his Nishta is absolute. He's not going back into the Kanishta. Bhakti Rakshakshira Maharaj, he said, what is the meaning of the state of Nishta? And he described it when you cannot turn your mind away from Krishna. That's passing Nishta. When your Nishta is so strong you can't turn away from Krishna. Do such bhaktas even desire to live, and if so, why? Babaji, actually they have no desire to live or die, or to attain liberation. They desire to live only to attain consummation of their bhajan. They only want one thing. They only want to render service to Radha and Krishna. This is pure love. When Radharani is feeling such attraction to Krishna, she goes out of Jabat, even in the middle of the day, searching for Krishna somewhere. And then when she meets Krishna on the bank of the river Jamuna, what does she do? She turns away immediately, because it's this contrary nature that is most pleasing to Krishna, actually. Krishna has to do some seva to actually pacify her and bring her back. So it's a very beautiful play and description of love. And we also want to catch up that enthusiasm that we see in the Brijvasis just to be with Krishna all the time. How can I be with Krishna? Except through my service, my seva. The seva will connect. As soon as I'm doing seva, I'm connected. As soon as I stop doing the seva, I've stopped being connected. Seva in the form of kirtan, chanting. Seva in the form of shravan, hearing, reading, chanting. Seva in the form of remembrance, smaranam. These 9 angas of bhakti. They have no independent desires All their desires are solely dependent on Krishna's will, because they are firmly convinced that everything is happening by his will, and that whatever happens is only because of his desire. They have therefore no need to aspire for anything independently. Actually, the independence that we have, Guru has explained, is to be given to Guru. That's the big surrender to Guru, to give Guru your independence. That's not so easy, to give Guru your independence. Our independence we cherish like a jewel, but a real disciple will give his independence to Guru. And however Guru wants to play his strings instrument, that disciple will play. He'll follow totally, like Ramananda Rai. In the Rai Ramananda Samvada, Mahaprabhu is asking, go on, and it's like he is controlling the puppet. Ramananda Rai says, I'm just like a puppet and you're pulling the strings. This is real surrender to Guru, giving the independence. Not so easy. Nityananda Das, you have to be really in love with Guru to do that. And that love will build. It starts in a low level, and then that love will increase gradually through service. It doesn't come straight away. It's gradually increasing. Nityananda Das, I have understood the symptoms of the Madhyam Adhikari. Now please tell me about the secondary symptoms of the Uttam Adhikari. Babaji, their secondary symptoms are their bodily activities, but even these cannot actually be viewed separately as secondary symptoms, because they are so much under the control of prem, which is beyond all influence of the material modes. So now we're getting to the complete transcendental level. Nityananda Das, Prabhu, there is no provision in Shastra for the Kanishta Adhikaris to renounce householder life, and Madhyam Adhikaris may live either as householders or renunciants. Is it possible that some Uttam Adhikaris may live as householders? Okay, nice question. Babaji, one's level of eligibility cannot be determined by whether one is a householder or a renunciant. The only criterion for one's advancement is in bhakti. The only criterion is one's advancement in bhakti. Always. There is certainly no harm if an Uttam Adhikari Bhakta remains a household. All the Grihastha Bhaktas of Braj were Uttam Adhikaris. Many Grihastha Bhaktas of our Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were Uttam Adhikaris. Rai Ramananda is the foremost example of this. We have Advaita Acharya, we have Mukunda, we have who?
Esther you told.
Huh?
Esther you told about Gadadhar
Gadadhar Pandit.
Pundarik Vidya.
Pundarik Vidyanidhi, yes. So many were actually Grihastas. Because it doesn't matter whether you're a Grihasta or a renunciant. It's what counts is your bhakti, only your bhakti. This is the only point that counts. We get confused when our consciousness becomes covered with material considerations, thinking, oh, this is very important, that's very important. None of these things are as important as our advancement in bhakti, devotion. Nityananda Das, Prabhu, is an Uttam Adhikari Bhakta. If an Uttam Adhikari Bhakta is a Grihastha and a Madhyam Adhikari Bhakta is in the renounced order, how should they behave towards each other? Babaji, the person who is less qualified should offer Dandavat Pranams to the person who is more qualified. This stipulation is only for the benefit of the Madhyam Adhikari, because the Uttam Adhikari Bhakta does not expect respect from anyone. In all living beings, he sees the presence of Bhagavan. Yeah, he's not looking for anything outside of service to Bhagavan. Nityananda Das, Should one bring many Vaishnavas together and hold festivals for distributing Bhagavat Prasad? Now listen carefully to the answer. From the spiritual point of view, there is no objection if many Vaishnavas gather together for some particular occasion, and a Madhyam Adhikari Grihastha Bhakta wants to honor them by distributing the Bhagavat Prasad. However, it is not good to make a pompous display of serving the Vaishnavas, for then this activity will become adulterated with the mode of passion. One should distribute prasad to the assembled Vaishnavas with great care and attention. This is one's duty. If one wishes to serve the Vaishnavas in this way, he should only invite pure Vaishnavas. So not to make a pompous display of having big pandal, festival, everything, and feeding all the Vaishnavas. You should look for the Mahabhagavat Vaishnavas, for those pure Vaishnavas. Nityananda Das. A new caste has emerged in Baragachi, consisting of people who refer to themselves as descendants of Vaishnavas. Kanishta Adhikari householders invite them and feed them in the name of Vaishnava Seva. How is this to be viewed? Babaji. Have these descendants of Vaishnavas taken up Shuddha Bhakti? Nityananda Das. I don't see Shuddha Bhakti in any of them. They only call themselves Vaishnavas. Some of them wear kopin, loincloths. Babaji. I cannot say why this type of practice is in vogue. It should not be done. I can only surmise that it is going on because Kanishta Vaishnavas have no ability to recognize who is a true Vaishnava. So now he's picking up on a point that if these festivals are going on but there's no pure Vaishnava present, then it can be more detrimental to Mahaprabhu's mission if people are starting to falsely honor those who are not deserving of that honor. If they're just dressed like a sannyasi but are not behaving in a sannyasi way, then this can be a negative impression for the world. So therefore all of these stages have to be appreciated deeply by what we're reading now. We have to understand these closely. Nityananda Das. Do the descendants of Vaishnavas deserve any special regard? Babaji. Honor is due for those who are actually Vaishnavas. If the descendants of Vaishnavas are pure Vaishnavas, they should be honored in proportion to their advancement in bhakti. This is what it always comes down to, in every single instance, their advancement in devotion. Because only devotion to Krishna is our ultimate benefit. Nothing else. There isn't really any. It doesn't matter whether you build big temples or whatever you do. It's how much bhakti is manifesting in your heart. If you make 1 million people followers, shave them all up, but no one has any pure bhakti in their hearts, what is the value of that? And if you do have bhakti in your heart, you won't have to make any effort to bring anybody. You won't have to make any effort because you will see that Krishna is doing everything through you. And you're not actually doing anything. But Krishna is performing all of this activity through the instrument of you. If you're completely pure, he will inspire all these different activities. And you will see that Krishna is doing like this. What if the descendant of a Vaishnava is only a worldly man? Babaji. Then he should be considered as a worldly man and not as a Vaishnava. He should not be honored as a Vaishnava. One should always remember the instruction given by Sriman Mahaprabhu in Shikshastikam, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishana Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. One can chant Sri Harinam in a humble state of mind, thinking himself more insignificant than the straw in the street and more tolerant than the tree. One should be devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant Sri Harinam constantly. Then the next verse 4, Nadanam Najanam Na Sundarim Kavitam Vajagadishva Kamaye Mamani Jamani Jishvare Bhagavad Bhakti Ahoitikitai. This is saying how to become humble, that I'm not attracted to followers. I don't want worldly, worldly impressions, etc. This is the 4th verse. It's describing how to be humble. One should be free from pride and should offer appropriate respect to others. One should offer Vaishnavas the respect due to a Vaishnava, and he should offer those who are not Vaishnavas the respect that befits any human being. If one does not offer respect to others, he does not acquire the necessary qualification to chant Sri Nam. So important to be respectful. At least devotees can learn to be respectful to one another. Unfortunately, this is not the case today. We have these Facebook posts and so on, and sometimes devotees think because they're not face to face that they can say anything on these posts insulting. I know it's happened in the past. Many aparads have been committed on these posts. You know, people have been offending each other, which means their ability to chant Harinam will be far away, far away. Nityananda Das, how can one be free from pride? Very beautiful question. Babaji, one should not proudly think, I am a Brahmana, I am wealthy, I am a learned scholar, I am a Vaishnava, or I have renounced family life. People may well offer respect because one has such qualities, but one should not want to be honored by others out of such egoistic pride. One should always think oneself as a worthless, insignificant, destitute, and lower than the blade of grass. Without this conception, we cannot go forward. We can just stay on the bodily platform all the time. Once you start to come off the bodily platform, you know that if someone tries to put you on the bodily platform by saying how great you are, that's going to obstruct your connection with Krishna. As soon as you start to think of your own greatness, you less are thinking of Krishna's greatness. Again, you've fallen into the whirlpool of envy. That's what we discussed at the very beginning today. You fall into that place. Nityananda Das, it seems from this that one cannot be a Vaishnava without humility and compassion. Babaji, that is quite true. Nityananda Das, then does Bhakti Devi depend on humility and compassion? Babaji, no. Bhakti is completely independent. Bhakti is the personification of beauty, and she is the supreme ornament. She does not depend on any other good qualities. This devotion doesn't depend on any, like I said the other day, Sukriti. You know, that's not what Bhakti is depending on. Bhakti is depending on Bhakti herself, and that Bhakti herself comes from the heart only of one who has Bhakti. Otherwise, it doesn't come in the heart. Humility and compassion are not separate qualities, but are included within Bhakti. I am a servant of Krishna. I am destitute. I have nothing. Krishna is my all in all, and the Bhakti that is expressed with these attitudes is itself humility, dainya. The tenderness of heart experienced towards Krishna is known as Bhakti. Tenderness of heart, that means it's gentle, it's soft. If you come into too much of an area of aggression, you know, of harshness, this is very bad for the heart and progress in bhakti. Everything in bhakti is actually, it starts from sattva gun, it starts from there to become vishuddha sattva. It begins from that place, respectful. All other jivas are servants of Krishna. Oh, the tenderness of heart experienced towards Krishna is known as bhakti. All other jivas are servants of Krishna, and tenderness of heart towards them is compassion, daya. Therefore, compassion is included within bhakti. Shama, forgiveness, is the bhav situated between humility and compassion. When I am so wretched and insignificant myself, How can I inflict punishment upon others? When this attitude is combined with compassion, forgiveness automatically appears. Forgiveness is also included in bhakti. So all these beautiful qualities. Krishna is satya, real. The fact that the jivas are servants of Krishna is also real, as is the fact that the material world is only a boarding house for the jivas. That means that bhakti is also real, because these truths are based on the jiva's relationship with Krishna, which is itself bhakti. Truth, humility, compassion, and forgiveness are 4 special qualities that are included in bhakti. I think we'll stop here. So he's going to ask.
There's only one page until 9 chapter.
Never mind, we can do tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Sunday.
Oh, tomorrow's Sunday, not doing tomorrow. Okay, so we'll do one more page now. Babaji, the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.26 is Narayana Kala Shanta Bhajate Hi Ana Shuyava. Those who are free from the propensity to slander others and who are fully peaceful worship Sri Narayan and his plenary portions. There is no Dharma other than Vaishnava Dharma. All the Dharmas that are or ever will be propagated in this world are either steps on the staircase of Vaishnava Dharma or else distortions of it. Fascinating sentence. Only Vaishnava Dharma is there. These Dharmas that are steps leading to bhakti should be respected in proportion to their degree of purity. One should not hear any malice towards dharmas that are distortions of bhakti, but one should focus exclusively on the cultivation of one's own devotional truths. One should not maintain any animosity towards the followers of other religions. When the time is right, the followers of various other dharmas will become Vaishnavas easily. Of this there is no doubt. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is like a doctor. He's saying strongly, no doubt. Nityananda Das, is it our duty to preach Vaishnava Dharma or not? Babaji, certainly it is. Our Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given everyone the responsibility of spreading this Dharma. Nachogaya Bhakti Sange Kare Sankirtan Krishna Nama Upadeshi Tari Sarvagyan. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 792. Dance, sing and perform Sankirtan in the association of bhaktas. You should deliver everyone by instructing them to chant Sri Krishna Nam. Ataiva Ami Yagna Dilun Shabakara Juhun Jahan Tahan Prema Fal Deha Yare Tare. Therefore I am ordering everyone to distribute the fruits of prem wherever they go and to whomever they meet. However, one must remember not to give Sri Krishna Nam to unqualified people. Such people should first be given the necessary qualification. Only then can they be given Hari Nam. Furthermore, these statements of Srimad Mahaprabhu do not apply when neglect, upeksha, is appropriate. For instance, when dealing with inimical people. Trying to enlighten such people only presents obstacles to one's preaching. Don't try. It's not worth it. When Nityananda Das had heard Haridas Babaji Mahashai's ambrosial words, he rolled on the ground at his feet in great love. The grove reverberated with the Vaishnavas' loud exclamations of Sri Harinam, and everyone offered Dandavat pranams to Babaji Mahashai. The day's meeting in that secluded grove came to an end, and everyone returned to their respective places. It's always interesting, I appreciate, he doesn't say their homes, he doesn't say their houses, he says their places. We haven't made a house or a home, we've made a place to park the body for a while. So he says very clearly their respective places, which is nice to appreciate. Jaiva Dharma, chapter 8, Ki Jai. Now we could just turn around and read that whole chapter again, right?
Yes.
So many truths in there. We could just start all over again and go right through it and get so much more out of it the second time reading it together. And then if we read it a third time, we would get even more out of it. This is the nature of transcendental literature. It never stops. You never say, yes, I've done that. Yes, I'm not going to read chapter 8 again. I've read it. No, we haven't read it. We've just touched on the very peripheral of it. We've touched a little bit. I've just tried to say whatever was inspiring, and however I felt, I could bring out something, but I still feel I haven't read chapter 8 yet. Next time I read it, it'll be even more beautiful. So Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. So on Monday, we will meet with chapter 9. I think chapter 9 is about Digambar. Yeah.
Civilization.
Civilization, yes, Digambar. Who was attracted to the Muslims. Interesting chapter. Okay.